The gavel cracked against the block, sharp as a gunshot in Redwood Hollow's quiet courthouse. $50. That was all it took for Officer Ethan Ward to secure the Ashford cabin, a property no local had dared claim for nearly 15 years. The hush that followed was heavier than the storm clouds gathering over Oregon's towering pines. Whispers cut through the silence like snakes in the grass. Land. A reporter vanished there. That night when Ethan pushed open the warped cabin door, dust spun in the air like restless spirits, looked deserted. Until a low growl rolled out of the shadows. From the darkness stepped a German shepherd, coat streaked silver and black, burning with warning. He wasn't a stray. He was a sentinel. Behind the fireplace he guarded lay a secret someone had buried, and would kill to keep hidden. What Ethan uncovered inside that cabin would change everything, would drag old betrayals into the light, uncover truths no one wanted spoken, and forge a bond with a dog who refused to let the past stay buried. Followed would break his heart, and mend it again. But before I dive deeper, I'd love to know, where are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments below. Above Redwood Hollow, a timber town tucked deep in Oregon's Cascades, the sky hung heavy with dull, rain-soaked clouds. Autumn had arrived late, bringing a bite of frost in the air. Puddles shimmered in cracked pavement outside the courthouse annex, as a cold breeze swept through the streets. The town felt tired. Peeling storefronts, a greasy diner that always smelled of coffee and bacon, loggers shuffling between muddy trucks. Into this scene walked Ethan Ward, a stranger, yet instantly a curiosity. At 36, tall and broad-shouldered from years of patrol duty in Dallas. His dark blonde hair was cut short, his gray, blue eyes sharp and steady. Navy suit he wore seemed almost too neat for this rural place, though his boots carried the dust of long travel. After a decade in the city, Ethan had transferred to Redwood Hollow's sheriff's department in search of quiet, though the restless weight in his gaze suggested he wasn't sure he'd find it here. Military police service had shaped him long before, showed, in his straight-backed stance, the cross of his arms, the way he measured every detail of his surroundings. Inside, house smelled of damp wool and stale coffee. Boots shuffled across hardwood floors. The foreclosure auction had dragged on for over an hour. Farmers in worn denim, ranchers with weathered faces, and sharp-eyed speculators with the scent of money filled the rows. Pickup trucks, old tools, small parcels of land, all sparked eager bidding. Ethan, though, sat silently in the back. He wasn't here for a tractor, he wanted only one thing: Ashford cabin, buried deep in the forest. Douglas Harper, the portly auctioneer with thinning gray hair and a vest that strained at the buttons, threw the list in his practiced monotone. But when he reached the Ashford property, even his voice faltered. Parcel 12B, known as the Ashford Place, 160 acres, single cabin, condition, poor, one well, status unknown. 15 years of unpaid taxes, sold as is. The room went still. Even Harper shifted uneasily behind his podium. From his seat, Ethan felt the air change. Eyes turned toward him. The outsider, the new deputy. They knew what he was here for. He'd asked about the cabin at the clerk's office, and now their stares carried both pity and quiet warning. Harper cleared his throat. "We'll open the bidding at $50. Not a single hand rose. Ethan lifted his own, steady and sure. "50, he said. Word rippled through the crowd like a stone dropped into deep water. Faces hardened. The silence wasn't indifference. It was dread. In the row ahead, a rancher gave a faint shake of his head, a warning. Harper rushed the process. $50. Do I hear 60? No. Going once. The gavel slammed down. Sold. The murmurs began at once, urgent and low. Doesn't know what he bought. Place is cursed. That's where Michael Green vanished. Ethan rose, walking with calm purpose toward the clerk's desk. His boots echoed on the floor, steady as his breathing. He had stood under harsher stares in desert towns where rifles replaced gossip. Still, he felt the weight of the whispers pressing against him. A young woman in her 20s, with chestnut hair neatly pinned back, pushed the deed toward him. Her name tag read Sarah Green. She avoided his eyes until finally she met his gaze, lips pressed tight with something unsaid. "Mr. Ward," she said softly, "you don't have to go through with this. You could walk away now. No one would blame you." Ethan studied her, intrigued. "And why's that?" Her pen tapped against the desk as she hesitated. Then, with a tremor in her voice, she whispered, Because that cabin has taken more than it's ever given. My brother lived there, Michael Green. He was a journalist. He disappeared, left everything, his truck, his coat, even his dog. They never found him. She drew a breath. Some say the cabin is haunted. I don't believe in ghosts. I believe someone made him disappear. Her words hung heavy. Ethan softened slightly. He had seen this same haunted look on families waiting for loved ones who never came home. Quietly, he slid the deed into his jacket. I appreciate the warning, Miss Green, he said gently. But I can't walk away. Not from this. Her frustration flickered, mixed with fear. Then be careful. Whatever swallowed Michael, it's still out there. The auction moved on, but Ethan barely heard it. Stepping outside into the cold Oregon air, the deed heavy in his pocket, he felt the stirrings of something he hadn't asked for, but could no longer avoid, was his now, along with the shadows of a 15-year-old mystery. Dawson looked every inch the man he had been before owning the tavern. Broad-shouldered, arms thick from decades with an axe in hand, his weathered face mapped with lines of laughter and fatigue. Ethan pegged him instantly, a logger first, a barkeep second. Rag hovered mid-wipe as he sized Ethan up. Afternoon, stranger. Don't think I've seen you here before. Ethan slipped onto a stool, posture easy but alert. Deputy Ward. Just moved in from Texas. Thought I'd test the coffee here. Rick's mouth twitched into a crooked grin, strong enough to float a nail. That suit you. Perfect. The tavern was quiet, only a few card players in the corner and two women finishing lunch at a back table. Rick poured a mug and set it down. The smell was sharp, bitter enough to jolt the bones. Ethan sipped, letting the heat burn through the chill that seemed to follow him since the auction. Picked up some property outside town, he said casually. The Ashford cabin. The rag stilled in Rick's hand. Conversations dipped. The name was a stone tossed into still water. Rick's eyes narrowed. You got that place at auction? $50. That's right. Rick gave a low whistle and set the glass down too firmly. Lord help you. That was Michael Green's cabin. Reporter out of Portland. Sharp guy, too sharp, sniffing around redwood timber years back. Missing tax filings, polluted streams, shady deals. Stayed in that cabin, then one day, gone. Truck still there, still hanging on the peg. Folks started calling it cursed ground. Ethan leaned forward, forearms resting on the bar. What do you think really happened? Rick's eyes flicked to the card table, then back, his voice dropping. Men like Michael don't vanish without reason. He was digging at something certain people wanted buried. Easier for this town to pretend he walked away than face the truth. You didn't just buy a cabin, deputy. You bought the wrong kind of attention. Before Ethan could answer, the tavern door groaned open. Cold air swept in around Sarah Green. Her cheeks were flushed, damp, but her eyes locked on Ethan with urgency. She crossed the room without a pause, ignoring the stares that followed. Ethan, she said firmly, sliding onto the stool beside him. We need to talk. Rick's eyes narrowed with sudden recognition. You're his sister. Michael's. Sarah gave a single sharp nod. We never believed he ran off. He was reckless, yes, but not careless. He loved Shadow, loved his work. He wouldn't have left them behind. He was silenced. Ethan studied her face, reading the conviction etched there. And you think redwood timber had a hand in it? Sarah's eyes flicked toward Rick. He gave a slight nod before moving away, granting them privacy. She leaned closer, voice low and fierce. I don't just think it. I know it. Michael told me he was close to proving they were dumping chemicals into the streams, forging maps to steal land. He said he had evidence. Then he vanished. If Shadow survived, maybe his work did too. But that's why you need to walk away. If they killed him, they won't hesitate with you. Ethan's sip of coffee was measured, steady. He'd heard voices like hers before, where truth was a dangerous currency. He met her gaze. I don't scare easy. If your brother left a trail, I'll follow it. For him. For you. Her knuckles whitened on her satchel strap. Then promise me, don't trust anyone too fast. Especially not men in uniform. Ethan gave the faintest nod, noted. The drizzle thickened against the windows, tapping like restless fingers. The silence between them carried more weight than words. Hollow's ghosts pressed close, but what Ethan felt wasn't dread. It was purpose. That night, slanted across the forest as Ethan's truck pulled into the clearing. The Ashford cabin sagged under the downpour, roof dripping steady as a metronome. Inside, the air smelled of damp earth and old smoke. Ethan unpacked supplies with the calm of a man preparing for a siege. Shadow padded behind him, less sharp now but eyes still keen. The shepherd's ears twitched suddenly, body stiffening as he moved to the fireplace. A growl rose from his chest, crouch flashlight sweeping. The boards beside the hearth looked wrong, seems too clean. He ran his hand along the grain. Hollow, warmer than the rest, instinct stirred. He fetched a crowbar, wedged it in. With a groan the wood gave way. Dust billowed. Inside, wrapped in rotting cloth, a notebook and 2 cassette tapes marked M. Green 2007. Ethan exhaled. Good work, Shadow. He laid the notebook on the table. Were fragile but filled with neat, deliberate handwriting. One entry caught his eye: October 14. Redwood timber accelerating operations. Forged maps confirmed. Stream samples tainted. Locals threatened into silence. Valley water supply at risk in 5 years. Must secure evidence. The words were steady. Proof. Shadow barked suddenly, eyes snapping to the open doorway. For a heartbeat Ethan thought he saw movement in the trees. A shadow slipping back into the rain. His hand hovered over his weapon until the silence returned. The door, unease prickling his spine. Meanwhile, Sarah's walk home was cut with dread. The street was nearly empty, when a black pickup rolled up slow, engine rumbling low. It stopped outside her house. She couldn't see the driver, but she felt the eyes. She gripped her keys tight, ready to scream. Truck idled a moment longer, then drifted away, leaving her trembling on the porch. Back at the cabin, Ethan read by lantern glow. Shadow at his feet, told of shady officials, suspicious shipments, one name repeating: Silas Grant, CEO of Redwood Timber. The tapes likely held more evidence Michael had known was dangerous. Shadow stirred again, ears fixed on the dark gap of the fireplace. The storm howled. Ethan's jaw tightened. Redwood Hollow wasn't haunted by ghosts, it was haunted by the living. By morning, pale sun glazed the wet town. Ethan parked outside town hall, and tapes heavy in his satchel. Inside, the mayor's office smelled of polished wood and old paper. Mayor George Whittaker rose, broad, gray-suited, sharp but cold. Deputy Ward. I hear you've been poking around places best forgotten. Ethan remained standing, laying the notebook on the desk without releasing it. Michael Green didn't vanish without reason. He left records, proof Redwood timber was poisoning this valley. Tapes, names. Whittaker leaned back, fingers steepled, laugh dry as dust. You've been here 2 weeks and already chasing ghost stories. Green was a drifter chasing conspiracies. We moved on. Ethan's jaw set. Moved on or covered it up. Whittaker's smile thinned, eyes hardening. This town survives because we keep our heads down. Wood timber keeps food on tables. You stir old ashes, you'll burn yourself, and maybe others. Ethan studied him, slid the notebook back into his satchel. Whittaker's gaze followed him to the door. His final words rang like steel. Some things are better left buried. Ethan left the building, Whittaker's words clinging to him like smoke. They weren't advice, they were a warning. Across town, Sarah Green returned from the grocery store and found a plain white envelope wedged into her mailbox. No stamp, no address. Just her name, in harsh block letters. A chill rippled down her spine as she carried it inside. At the kitchen table, she tore it open with trembling fingers. Inside was a single sheet of paper, the message stark and cold in black type. Don't let the new deputy dig into your brother. If you care about your family, quiet. Her throat constricted. She glanced at the windows, half expecting to see eyes peering back at her. For years she had endured pity, rumors, and silence about Michael's disappearance. But this was no whisper. It was a threat. She folded the note and slipped it beneath a pile of old bills, hardening into resolve. If someone wanted Ethan stopped, then he was the only one willing, or reckless enough, to keep digging where Michael had left off. That night Sarah sat by her window, staring out at the empty street. The memory of the black pickup still haunted her, the letter pressed down like a fresh weight. Whoever had silenced her brother was still out there, and now they were watching her too. Meanwhile, hammered the cabin roof in steady sheets. Lightning cracked above Redwood Hollow, casting the forest into brief, jagged light. The thunder followed close behind, shaking the night as though warning of what was yet to come.